got smoothie problems, I feel good for you, son, because I got 99 episodes of the HooperCast.
And you're listening to one.
Good morning sometime to some of you, depending on your time zone. It is episode 99 of the HooperCast. This is Dustin and Connor coming at you with on episode 100 Eve.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, so we got a little bit of stuff for you today. Sorry I had to run off there, Dustin. The coffee was taking forever, and I was getting the honey, and I'm I'm not like health conscious, but I don't know. I guess I am, but without being like uppity about it.
Sure.
But I'm trying to do like the natural sweeteners now and stuff. So we got honey because now I drink tea a lot at work. Mm-hmm. So I usually just put some in the bottom of this thing, drive it to work, and then the first cup's got honey. So I was trying it with my coffee. So I'll give you an update in a minute on whether it's delicious or not.
Awesome. You could also use stevia.
Yeah, which I thought that stevia was actually like worse for you than actual sugar because it was artificial. I didn't know stevia was like a naturally occurring thing. I thought it was completely man-made.
Nah, Splenda's man-made.
Yeah, I thought
no.
I thought stevia was just another sort of artificial sweetener.
Stevia is what they put the ricin in for Lydia in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that's how I know it. Maybe that's why I don't want to ingest it.
I know, right? She ingested it, and then it was hilarious in that final episode.
Oh yeah.
Walt was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you're dying."
Oh yeah. By the way, it's like in V for Vendetta. Like, when are you going to poison me? I already have. It's like, oh, Samus.
Oh no.
He's like, that's right. You're dead already.
I forgot about that movie, man.
Yeah, we're compiling our list right now for our top 5 comic book movies, and I looked hard at V for Vendetta. I mean, that's a good movie.
It is a pretty good movie.
It's a good movie. Now, it's not very memorable.
Sure.
It's one of those...
It's one of the Wachowskis' better movies.
Yes, absolutely. And it's one of those maybe that's like, every year on September 11th, I watch, United 93. And so, as previously discussed. And so, if I'm conscious of it, every year on November 5th, I'll pop in V for Vendetta. It's just one of those like, it's funny because the date corresponds. And I think movies that have dates in them, this is United 93 is the exception. Clearly, they weren't going for this. But if the movie has a particular date of significance, you might watch it every year on that date. Mm-hmm. Like my mom and I just watched Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah.
So because next week, Wednesday, October 21st, 2015 is the day that Marty goes into the future to 2015. My mom was just laughing at all like the self-drying clothes and the hoverboards and Jaws and just the fashion. We were like, oh my God.
Yeah, very 80s inspired future.
The only thing that we saw in that movie that was probably true to what's going on now is like 80s cafes as like a novelty.
Yep.
And now here's something she noticed. She goes, Michael Jackson was white on that screen in the 80s cafe when he's like taking the orders, Mm-hmm. Was Michael Jackson white in 1987? I thought he wasn't white till like 1991.
The movie would have been... the movie came out in 89, I believe.
It was 89? Was it that late after? Wow.
I think 2 was 89 and 3 was 90.
91?
Yeah, something like that.
Or 90. Okay. Oh, sorry. I thought it was a 2-year gap. I'm thinking of Lethal Weapon. Okay, well, that makes more sense. 89.
Yeah.
Okay, well, never mind. I was like, that was extremely prophetic of them then.
They're saying
to predict his skin change.
I know, right? They're saying that the movie predicts that the Cubs win the World Series in 2015, and they're saying they have a good chance of it this year.
Oh my God!
Wouldn't that be crazy?
If only they could have predicted the candidacy of Donald Trump.
Oh no!
Although they sort of did by including Rich Biff.
Yeah. There you go. That's close enough.
Yeah, when my mom saw, Biff Tower, she was like, oh, Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry about the meowing in the background, everybody. That's the HooperCat, Elmo. He's in the laundry room, and he's in the laundry room for a specific reason. A little story, Dustin. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We'll get to movies in a minute.
I got you. Hit me.
Okay, so this is the saga of Elmo. So, several years back, my wife has had dogs growing up. A couple of they're not basset hound. I can't remember what kind of hound they are. They're giant, fat, long-eared dogs, and they are outside dogs, and they don't. That's really all they do. So she had really no experience with inside pets. So she met me, and then I was like, oh, by the way, I'm allergic to animals. And she was like, oh, well, okay. Well, of course, you're worth it, Connor. I mean, God, look at you. So we fast forward to now where it's like, she's like, I'm thinking we both take allergy tests, and I'm apparently no longer allergic to cats, according to my skin.
Sure.
So we decided we could probably do a cat. So one of the reporters where she works had a cat that had a bunch of kittens, and so it's like, we're going to get it for free. So we bought the cage, and we got the immunizations. We spent like $200 or something to get this cat all prepped. So the cat comes home, and he's an adorable kitten, and my daughter, she doesn't really like him, but she's, curious about him and
sure, not
scared of him anymore. And he, so that's that. So I'm like, okay, the cat. And so as long as we keep the house relatively clean, he's not a problem for my allergies. I just need to wash my hands right after I mess with him, and I don't really like to sit with him and stuff. So I'm still kind of allergic to cats, but it's manageable. Yeah. I mean, I'll come home, Jack, friend of the show, Jack. I mean, growing up, his damn dog sent me into a fit. Like, it was horrible once I left his house.
Really?
Like, I'd have to change clothes completely. I'd have to shower like twice and drink like 9 gallons of water. It was just bad. And some pets are worse than others. Dog, I don't can't do a dog. So I hate that I have allergies because, I'm sure that it sounds complainy and whatever, but I assure you I'm unpleasant if I've been around pets. So you and John don't know this too much because in college there was no pets around. So anyway, so the cat, everything's cool, and so then eventually he just starts getting annoying, and my wife, is currently has a particular condition I don't want to reveal right now. She's too tired to take care of. Dustin, you know what it is. She doesn't have cancer or anything. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
gotcha.
She's currently too fatigued to really scurry after him, and he's starting to become a pain in the ass. Like, he's clawing it, not maliciously, but following her and just screwing around. And she has got a toddler to run around after. It's just too much work. And so we were like, okay. She was like, I was wrong. I thank you so much for helping for agreeing to this, but we need to give him away to someone who will give him more attention, take care of him, and all that.
Sure.
So, which made me glad for a second, but then I was like, one of the reasons I was looking forward to this was that we would have this cat, and then he'd be an outside cat, and then he'd kill moles and rodents, birds, he would be, this could be a good thing for the house. And then, so I was like, okay, well, I felt kind of bad for turning around and giving him away so quickly, but whatever. So on Friday, I guess this was last week. So Elmo was supposed to be gone yesterday, Tuesday. As you've heard, he's still here.
Right.
What happened? So I'm walking. So Elmo likes to thread the needle. He likes to run between your legs while you walk.
My cat does the same thing.
Yeah, well, Elmo did it one day, and he didn't make it. And I just felt some pressure, and then I heard a couple of hisses. And when I turned, when he went to trot away from me, his leg was poking out a weird way. I was like, oh shit! And I thought I broke his leg. And so I'm going over, and he meows a couple of times, and I thought, okay, well, he's either it's not broken, or he's like a badass. He's really tough, So. I go over and I touch it. And normally you don't even mess with an animal's hind legs. My dogs hated that growing up, but he's like, yeah, look at my leg. He doesn't bite me. He doesn't freak out, and he's not wailing. And so eventually my wife takes him to the vet, and it's a ligament. Like, you showed the x-ray. It's weird looking at an x-ray of a cat, by the way. His knee was just kind of shifted a little bit this way, like within the muscle tissue, within the ligaments. So he essentially tore his ACL. By the way, vet visit costs like $300. Thank you very much. So Tara's like, still want to get rid. So we're not going to like sell him to anybody. So I'm already thinking before all this, grab her $200 in the hole, and this person's going to get a pet that's had shots and it's been checked for worms, and I should get compensated for that. Now I'm like, man, now I'm like $500 into this animal. I'm scooping his poop every day, and now he has to basically be discouraged from being mobile for 6 weeks. So now Elmo's execution has been stayed, and he just lives in my laundry room right now. And then he gets to come out to do a couple of things, but we largely confine him in there so he doesn't run around and use his leg.
Right.
Even though last night when I poured some food, he's like super speed across the house, even with this giant cast on his body. Like, he's still like, Bart Allen over here. So we took the cast off of him, and we just got to keep him. So I don't know what's going to happen. So it's just strange that like this failed investment for this cat, and he's still hanging around, and God knows what else he's going to do that's going to cost me money before he leaves my house.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
So, yeah. So, but it's weird, like during all that, like when I was going like, oh, Mo, I'm so sorry, this is the first time I've been able to say this was 0% my fault. Like, all I did was walk.
Right.
He decided to take a risk, and it did not pay off.
It didn't work.
Problem
it's
is,
not like
he doesn't have health insurance, and I have a wallet.
Dude thought he was Legolas going through the legs of that elephant.
Yeah, but he was not. Yeah. So So anyway, that's the saga of Elmo, and I just thought that was a particularly interesting turn of events. So fuck him, he's fine. He's So during all that, I was like rubbing his belly, like he was being real gentle, of course, at the time because he was wounded. And he was like, "Oh shit, well, I better be nice." And in like one afternoon, this is me we're talking about. I completely bonded.
Really?
With him.
Aw.
And I was like, oh God. Well, yeah. So anyway, I bonded with him. So now I don't want to get rid of him, but my wife just doesn't want to deal with it, because cats, it's usually about like another 6 months before they're grown and before they chill out and stop like screwing with you for no reason.
Yeah.
And she doesn't really want to put that kind of time in. And for me, it's like, well, we've already paid all this money for him. I kind of want to get some mileage out of him, at least give him a chance to kill some things in my yard. Because I got things for this cat to do. I got plans for this cat.
I know, right?
And the whole reason we got a cat was because they were so low maintenance, and you could just, after a while, you just got to put some food out and they'll just come back.
Yeah.
And keep them inside on Halloween. But so now I'm conflicted. She said, I don't want to mess with the. I'm done with the cat. And now I'm kind of like, oh, let's see what happens in the next 6 weeks. I'm wondering if we can. Now I'm the one who wants to keep him. It was a complete reversal. I vehemently fought this cat for months. And then I caved because, I love my wife. And now I don't want to cave because I love the cat. So I don't know what's happened to me, Dustin.
I don't either, Hooper.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry for going on so long about that. Yeah. Okay, well, let's completely change the subject, and let's talk about The Walking Dead.
Gotcha.
Properties, that is. Real quickly, I guess I'll just mention Fear the Walking Dead, which wrapped up a couple weeks ago by the time you listen to this. But we did a prereq last week, so we did not speak about it. And then when I got with Dustin and said, hey, for episode 99, let's talk about the end of the season finale of Fear the Walking Dead, and the season premiere of The Walking Dead. Dustin's response was, I have not watched anything past the pilot of Fear the Walking Dead, but I am watching The Walking Dead right now. And I laughed because I was just like, there was a quick feeling of well, damn it, I did the homework.
I know, right?
But then your response was, it's not really worth me paying for those episodes individually to keep up. And I forgot that that's essentially how you've been watching AMC shows.
Yep.
So
pay as you go.
And it got me thinking. I was like, you know what? It's not quite the same stakes, but I DVR the show and I watch it late at night before I go to sleep and get up. I go to sleep at like midnight and I wake up at 6 a.m. every day. So whatever I'm doing until midnight had better be worth my time. And your thing about pay as you go got me realizing, like, I don't think the show's quite worth me DVRing it and then spending an hour watching it, every Monday night.
Okay.
And so I don't know what we'll do next season with that show. We may not cover it. Who knows? I will say that the season finale was worth more than the 5 episodes before it combined.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, there was actually tension, but you also kind of have to decrease. You have to set the bar higher for a season finale because it's like you expect things to happen. But at least there was like there were zombies and there was tension and there were stakes and we've got to go and this and that. Whereas before it's just like set up and what's going on. I don't know, but the viewers know, and characters who aren't that interesting. Oh, by the way, I think I'm going to give the honey a thumbs up.
Oh, really?
Oh. This is straight black coffee, and it doesn't taste like poop. So
awesome. Yeah, I mean, look, my thing about Fear the Walking Dead is, I hate to ever fault a show for what I think it should be as opposed to what it is, but Fear the Walking Dead has such a big, like, it has such potential that when I watched the pilot, it wasn't that it did anything too stupid or like, oh, I can't do this. It was just that I felt like they weren't doing what kind of I wanted them to do or what I wanted to see. And so when I heard, and I guess this may be a little bit of a spoiler for anybody who's not totally caught up, but when I heard that the second episode pretty much like, okay, it has happened. You know what I mean?
Right.
That when I heard that, I kind of lost all interest and thought,
yeah,
all right, yeah. What I really wanted it to be was like at least let the fall happen over the course of a season, if not 2 or 3, or maybe just one season. That seems like a 1 season arc, but yeah, not over 2 episodes. So anyway, I was a little discouraged by that too when I heard that. It was my brother, I think, who told me that he was like, hey, what did you want out of the show? I was like, to watch humanity fall. He goes, yeah, that's done by the second episode. And so that was it. So again, it's not that I'm not interested in the show or whatever. It's just that, I guess I wanted that to play out longer than it did. So it kind of discouraged me from watching it a little bit.
I mean, in terms of like character dynamics, I feel like the only thing that's really different between this show and The Walking Dead is maybe the presence of the military.
Yeah.
But like in terms of like trusting people, there's subtle differences, I suppose, and maybe I guess season 2 will be the real judge of like what the show is. But the only interesting thing that has happened in this first season, or in terms of like maybe interesting, the most interesting character is introduced in like the 5th episode. And
oh, really? Wow.
He's because the heroin addict kid ends up getting grabbed by the military because he's in detox, but they think he's infected, so he gets quarantined, right? So they start, so people get split up and stuff. So I was like, okay, well that's a plot development that makes sense, and
yeah.
And so while they're in, there's some black dude in a suit who's also in quarantine, but he's like, for some reason, he seems real like hyper aware of what's going on, or and knows how to work the guards, or has a relationship with the guards or something. I don't know, but he basically says to the kid, Nick, I think his name is like you've got like skills or something, or I don't know what. He essentially basically says like, I'm gonna need a guy like you for what I'm doing, and they basically escape the thing. And so when everyone meets up at the end of the season, or which is the next episode,
right.
They like go to his house as like ref. I can't remember how it exactly ends, but essentially, I'm really wondering, what's this guy's deal? What's his story? Like, why is he super prepared for this? like he's rich. He has like a real nice house on like a cliff edge, like Tony Stark. And my whole thing is like, oh, well, what's his whole deal and what's his plan and so I'm interested in him, but he wasn't a character we began with.
Right.
I'm not really interested in Kim Coates, or is that her name? No, Kim Dickens. Sorry, not Kim Coates.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Her, Cliff Curtis, and I like Cliff Curtis, and I believe that maybe his range, because right now they all have this whole like, they've got this whole like yuppie, like, no, not yuppie, but more like what's going on? This is crazy. And like we talked about, when you're the viewer and you know what's happening, you're just like, you don't care. You don't want to see them figure out what's happening. It's not interesting.
Right.
You want to see them know what you know and learn things with you.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you start a show as like a prequel, and then you already, but there are things they figure out faster than Rick Grimes and his people, which is, okay, it doesn't matter if you're bitten or not. When you die, it happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Which was a secret until like the end of season 2, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now, they know this already. Of course, I'm sure the writers said we can't do that twice.
Sure.
So I'm just kind of wondering. They seem to know everything that Rick's people know about the Walkers, and so what's the difference going to be going forward?
Sure.
I don't know.
I would hope for more information. I would hope that we would learn, more about the origins and I don't know, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, if The Walking Dead is going to be about how we're dealing with this crisis, the Fear the Walking Dead probably ought to be about figuring out why it happened in the first place. I don't expect both shows to explore that.
Or how to reverse it.
Right. So I'm fine with The Walking Dead with its simple premise of the man versus nature and the survival concept and retaining your humanity and all that. I don't need those exact themes explored on a spinoff with the exact same premise.
Right, exactly.
So we'll see what happens with that show. I may or may not watch it next year. I'll probably at least watch the season premiere. I mean, as long as I'm paying for cable, I have no reason to stop watching the show yet.
Yeah, yeah.
So, anyway, yeah. So, well, let's talk about The Walking Dead, which we did both watch, which premiered this past Sunday, October 11th. Season 6. And I really liked this premiere. They used a ton of extras for the Walkers, more than they've ever shown on screen. I'd read somewhere like they had like 1,000 extras.
Holy cow! I
mean, and maybe like 300 on the screen at maybe at one time, at any one time. But I think Scott Gimple said it was a shitload of people in makeup. They gotta have a whole rock quarry full of walkers. So I thought that I thought it was good. I liked the I thought it was interesting for them to do the whole like flashbacky stuff, nonlinear storytelling for this first episode, and I thought it appropriately started with a sequence of things happening rather than just people talking and deciding what to do. And character tension. I liked there being physical tension right off the bat, because like when it starts, you're like, what the hell are they doing? What's going on? Who are they? Why is he disagreeing with him? What's going on? What? And I liked that. And then you get the little vignettes in between of the befores, and then you can get the character moments as flashbacks. I thought that that's a good way to get both things going. You can capture my attention, my interest, but you can also tell us how Morgan feels about being there, how Rick feels about Morgan being there, and that one dude who wants to lead a mutiny against Rick, and Eugene still being worthless. So
yes, exactly.
And what's her name? The lesbian cop from Atlanta. Why? How did she get hurt again? I can't remember.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, exactly. I just saw her in a hospital bed, and I was like, "What happened to you?"
Yeah, I can't remember. It had something to do with Glenn. I don't remember.
Yeah. She got hurt.
Yeah, somehow.
Oh, you know what? I think a grenade. Didn't a grenade go off when like they went on a run at the end of the last season, and she got hurt by like the fallout? Like someone dropped a grenade or like a pipe bomb or something on accident. Who
Yeah,
cares?
I think I vaguely remember that.
Yeah,
it was
anyway.
it was something. It was like around the time that Noah died too, I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But and then she passed out and like Eugene had what they were supposed to do was like a heroic moment for him or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, he came back and saved her. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now he's like, meh, again.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Look, all right, so I agree with you 100% that's a great way to do like your more action, active kind of a thing, and then get your character moments too.
Yeah.
So I think that was a very smart way to do it, and I love this show in black and white. Sometimes AMC runs The Walking Dead in black and white, like around Halloween, and that to me that's so cool. Like I can't think of any other TV show that's ever done that. Like let's change basically the whole style of the show just for an airing, like a marathon or something.
Yeah,
and that's really cool. And the fact that the show can still hold up in that style is interesting to me. And if you've ever read the comics are in black and white, so it kind of is cool to see it happen like the source material. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that was a very interesting way of doing it.
Yeah.
I will disagree with you on this. I think that overall this premiere was underwhelming.
Oh, really?
I do.
Why?
Because of a few reasons. Number one, I feel like they didn't tell a complete story. Okay. They told a lot of little vignettes, but they never told me a story in that episode. They told me the start of a story. They told me like, okay, here's our plan, and then the plan starts and things go wrong, but that's it. Mm-hmm. That's not a complete story. So from a writing standpoint, even though I know that it's a serialized TV show, so the next episode will pick up with that, that's not enough. And the reason is because it's not a strong enough premise to last more than 1 or 2 or maybe 3 tops episodes. Like I would imagine that by the end of the next episode, this has been wrapped up. Either they're gonna, all the walkers are just going free and the herding failed, or it didn't and they succeeded. That we would know as a writer. I just don't think you can stretch that out because this pilot was 100. Or it was what, an hour and something.
I think it was a 90-minute.
Yeah. Okay.
Televised premiere.
Yeah. So a 90-minute episode is too long for the plot to be. We're going to take some things from this area to this area. That's not an interesting enough plot to really happen over an hour and a half, and especially not if you add another 40 minutes to it. So for me, if that story had been stronger, then I would be okay with it because I could see it lasting through the season. I can see like, okay, we're starting, what's going to carry us through this year. But I can't see this story carrying us through this year. So maybe this is an inciting incident for what will carry us through this year. But in that case, I feel like we should have had a clue that there is an inciting incident coming.
I see what you mean. So, like, this in itself should have either been what's going to be happening for the rest of the fall, or we should have seen some sort of immediate effect of this.
Exactly.
Other than the implied danger of the walkers, running amok.
So, yeah, exactly. So if you think about this like a 3-act structure, Act 1 always has, like, right towards the end of it, you've got this inciting incident after you've established the world. And that's what this was. We're establishing what the world and what the characters are now as opposed to where they were last year or last season finale. And so we've set everything up, and then we have this inciting incident, which I assume is the herding procedure going bad. Well, that's fine, but we didn't really end Act 1, or if we did, maybe the twist at the end of Act 1 is that, but is that there's the alarms going off or whatever. But nevertheless, this isn't a full story because you've only told me Act 1 of a larger story, but there's no hint of what that larger story would be. Like if I asked you, the obvious parallel here would be like the Fellowship of the Ring, which is its own thing while being essentially the first act of a larger story. But the reason it works is because we know the stakes of, if this doesn't go right, if this quest is futile, then we know sort of what's happening. We know what the other side is working on. And in this show, we don't know what the other side even is. We don't even know if there is another side. We know that the Walkers, because I'll be honest, I don't know if you feel this way, but for me, the Walkers, there's no tension left in the Walkers. When they are being herded like cattle, they're as scary as cattle. And sure, every now and then cattle hurt, like stampede and kill some people. But it's...
I'm just picturing like them literally herding cattle and going, and when the cattle like stray like off the road for a second, them going like, and then the cattle are eating some dude's face, like,
and then they stab the cattle
get them back in line, get them back in line.
Abraham versus Cat.
They've got a bunch of like dogs that are like barking them back into.
That's essentially what it is. Glenn and his people are at the back, and Abraham's up at the front. He's like the sheepdog. Because look, they walk slow. They're walking behind, like Daryl's going like 5 miles an hour, and they're all just like chilling. So if you can literally drive very slowly away from these things, or really just kind of jog, they're not scary anymore. So the only fear in them is if they're in large quantities and you are in a small enclosed space. But here, we're in the middle of the wood, like the middle of the road. There's woods on either side. It's wide open, pretty much. I just don't see the fear in it. So to me, the plot itself was without tension. There's a reason that if you look at like Alien or Jaws or any of these staples of the horror genre, you do one of two things. Either you pull a Jaws and you don't show the monster very often, or two, you pull like an Aliens and you do show a lot of monsters, but every time they show up, they kill somebody.
Yeah.
And that way you still have the tension there. But when they're just leading them across and they kill no-name characters, red shirts, that we don't even like, then that's not proving the stakes to me. So anyway, I guess my problem with this was twofold. One, I felt there was no tension because I don't know if this mass herding fails. How is that any worse than what they were dealing with in Atlanta? It's not. It's just Atlanta all over again, and they survived that, so that doesn't seem like a huge deal to me. And if they succeed, I understand there would be rejoice in the triumph of this goal, but I don't understand how there would be immediate death and immediate despair at the failure of the goal, because they're still in a community that's walled up. If their walls simultaneously fell, then you've got an issue, and maybe that's what happened, and we just haven't seen it yet. But if that's the case, again, the tension is gone, and you know what I mean. There's a lot of, to me, the problem was there was no tension in the quest, and I didn't see enough of an antagonist in this episode. I don't know who the antagonist is because, like I said, if the walkers aren't scary, the walkers aren't the antagonist. So who is? They've always built up like the governor or whoever as this antagonist. It's a person, not a zombie. So for this episode not to have that, like the wolves, you didn't see the wolves following them or whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the previously on, they had that little thing of like the wolves are coming or whatever, and it was even at the end of the last season, they sort of teased like these people are following them.
Yeah.
Or something.
Exactly. So for me, like if there had been instances of, okay, here's the clear antagonist, like here's your Sauron, which clearly defines the stakes of this goal, but then your quest has to be interlinked with your antagonist. So you can't just have like, okay, we're going to move these things, and oh wait, we're either going to succeed or fail, but either way the wolves are going to show up. That doesn't increase or decrease the stakes, really. So unless they show up and they're like, look, we're going to like fight against you, but then that doesn't make sense. Why would they not want this to happen? So anyway, long story short, I felt like there wasn't any tension and there wasn't enough story to really justify anything going forward. And so for me, even though I enjoyed the character moments, I did. I honestly, I thought some of the stuff with Morgan, like that's some of the most interesting stuff that they've done in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy the dynamic between Rick and Morgan, and I always have because they have that history dating back to the pilot.
Yeah.
But that's not enough. And then there's a few other things which bug me, like Carl, who should be like a top 5 main character, had 0 lines in the episode. Was only on screen once. And I'm just thinking,
he was chasing some tail.
He was. And
that one kid was watching creepily from the woods.
I know, super creepy. I was like, this ain't right. This Alexandria place, man, they full of like creepers.
Yeah.
Disturbia up in here. Oh man, what a
Toms.
twist that would be if Shia LaBeouf was in the neighborhood watching everything.
Oh yeah,
that'd be crazy.
He was in the woods next to that guy. Like, see, I told you,
do it.
He's going for your girl. Go over there and do it.
Do it. Do it. Yesterday you said today.
Yeah,
that's what they should do. They should just have like a little Shia LaBeouf on Carl's shoulders, like the little angel and demon Shia LaBeoufs.
They're both Shia LaBeouf and they're both devils.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's funny, that guy got arrested like a week or so, or maybe a couple days back.
Yeah, I heard about that.
For like public intoxication, jaywalking. And I was just on Twitter, and I follow Shia LaBeouf on Twitter, and he said, all my life I seem to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I'm thinking, yeah, while drinking excessively and jaywalking.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
also, being in the wrong place at the wrong time, isn't that a quote from Holes?
If it's not a quote from Holes, it's certainly how that character would feel.
Did Shia LaBeouf just quote Holes? That's the real story here.
Yeah, I feel like he
Holes,
does.
Holes 2 confirmed.
That would be hilarious.
That really would be awesome.
Yeah.
Get all those kids back together with Sigourney Weaver and John Voight. Tim Blake Nelson
Tim Blake
up in
Nelson.
Here. and Fonzie. Henry Winkler played Shia LaBeouf's dad.
And Zero.
Hector Zeroni.
And do another Holes rap.
Yes.
And then I'm sure Jaden Smith would be in the next Holes movie.
Oh, don't say that. No.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like to think of this.
Oh, yeah.
Dig it up.
And then that son that Will Smith never talks about, but he's out there and he's cool with it.
Yeah.
Too. Whatever his name is.
Yeah, I have no clue what his name is.
Well,
2 suits, 2 tokens in hand.
2 suits, 2 tokens in hand. 2 suits, 2 beers in hand. I got no respect for the lawman. I've got my vodka, shoes full of sand. Check out the tag, the name's Cave. Oh. I can fix that. It's a little insider joke for you Holes readers.
Who was that guy that played that guy?
I don't know who played him in the movie, but I just remember, I can fix that. It's like, oh, Sam, my heart is breaking. He's like, I can fix that.
I can fix that.
And then he starts macking on her.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And then all the rednecks in the town are like, this ain't right. This ain't natural.
Sam, my clothes are too constrictive. Oh, I can fix that.
I can fix that.
I can fix that for show. Now, pardon me while I close the dough.
Do you remember how brutal that was as a kid, though, watching Sam get shot in the back of the head in the boat?
See, yeah. Who played Kissin' Kate? Wasn't it like
what's her
Patricia
face
Clarkson or something? Or Patricia Arquette?
That's her name. Yeah. Arquette.
Not Clarkson.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, but yeah.
Yeah, that's the chick. You would know if you saw her.
From the girl from Medium, whoever that is. That's
yeah. That's and Boyhood for
briefly
for most of the world who doesn't watch Medium.
Yes.
Well, this has been a fascinating Holes recap.
It has been.
I agree with you. You bring up a good point about this episode being that if it's not gonna, it was missing a little bit of like, okay, well then other than the herding not quite working out, what's like the big thing like that's not gonna, because then at least if this was like the fifth episode of the season, then oh, not only is this not working out, but remember like that dude's coming to kill them because we saw that in the earlier episodes, but there's no context outside of just regular visceral survival in this episode. But I still like the episode overall because while it doesn't accomplish that one basic thing of the first episode of a season, it does make me want to stick around and watch the next one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I do feel like it was so well exexecuted.
Yeah, no, like I said, the character moments are great. So, that sort of makes up for some of this other stuff.
But there was no like, the episode work was very good, but there was no season work here.
Right. There's no sense, to me, there was just no sense of oncoming danger. So to me, it just, I guess, failed at setting up a season, but it did succeed in setting up the mindset of the characters at this moment. And
see, I don't know. I've got a quick little thing that I would suggest to this show. They really need to have a big bad come in soon and end the series.
Yeah.
Or the walkers need to evolve.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you agree that the biggest problem is that the walkers are not scary anymore.
No, they're not. They haven't been for a while.
And so
this episode just proves it.
The only thing that can make them scarier is if they can run, which would be great. But World War Z came out, and people don't like fast zombies, even though I loved the fast zombies because that was scary.
I do too. I like 28 Days Later.
But the thing is, with the rules we've set up physiologically with these zombies, they can't move quickly.
Yeah.
Because
they're decaying.
Although if you read Max Brooks' book, which kind of lays out the whole kill the head thing that's preached in all of these zombie lore. Theoretically, a zombie once freshly bitten could do whatever the body is able to do. So if Usain Bolt gets bitten and turns into a zombie, I'm fucking running. And I'm getting in a truck because that zombie has the full range of motion of Usain Bolt. The only thing that's going to change is that once he chases down a few people and eats them, his muscle tissue won't regenerate and he'll get slower. But at the exact moment, you can't outrun him.
You better, exactly.
Yeah,
you better dig a hole or something.
The whole thing of like, we're never going to be faster than him. I don't have to be faster than him. I just have to be faster than you.
Right, exactly.
Exactly, that whole thing. So
yeah.
I don't know why they can't introduce that with like, hey, how come they're running? Like, what the, but then it's too late because then why haven't anyone else who's been attacked before their eyes been an immediate threat as that? So that's off the table. But they need to be able to like, I don't know. Maybe they have telepathy, or maybe they can speak, or maybe they can disguise themselves as not being walkers, or I don't know. But something needs to happen to evolve them, and since that's mostly off the table, it's probably the big bad option.
Yeah, well, no, you make a good point because I hadn't thought about it in these terms, but the characters themselves, in terms of Rick, Glenn, Maggie, the ones that matter, these characters aren't afraid of the walkers anymore.
Well, and their situation cannot get worse by them alone because they have a solid dynamic. They all trust each other. That's all wrapped up. They are a good, tight, well-oiled machine. So the only thing that can shake them now is either
is a big bad.
Is a big bad or the enemy gaining the upper hand. Like in a way we haven't seen before, which would be if they physiologically became more advanced.
It's true.
If they mutated.
What I think they need to do, and I've thought this for a while, but especially now with Alexandria happening, is we need to clean house. And here's what I mean. Like, it's clear that you and I don't really care about this Tara character, and it's clear that we don't really care about the preacher whose name escapes me.
That was one of my tweets last night. I completely forgot about dumb priest guy.
Yeah, what's his name? Father something?
Who cares?
I don't know. Anyway.
Father Stupid Head.
Father Bald Man with, mustache. He doesn't have a mustache, does he?
He's got like a tiny little. He's got like that black people facial hair where sometimes, like, depending on the setting, he's got like a goatee and sometimes he's clean shaven.
Yeah.
But you don't really notice the distinction.
Sure.
Sorry, it's just true. If Rick has a beard, you kind of notice. But if that guy's got a little pencil thin mustache and it's dark, it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah. But so get rid of those guys. Get rid of Sasha. I mean, honestly, all of Abraham's crew needs to go. Abraham, I'm iffy on, but you could probably
he looks like
work
he's started
in.
to degaff. Like I'm getting the feeling that he's starting to kind of lose hope, and he's going to turn to a bit of a loose cannon.
Sure. So you could have a little bit of character there, but his team needs to go. And I think that would be a good way to make him change as well. If he loses what's-her-face and
he needs to lose
Eugene.
Rosita and Eugene.
Yeah, Rosita, yeah.
And then he's going to do something extreme.
Yeah,
I also think Morgan's going to die by the end of the season.
Probably.
Because something has to happen to Rick.
Well, yeah, I mean, no, this is a good point. They're going to, I guarantee what they're going to do is they're going to bring Morgan in to be like Rick's conscience. And he's essentially going to be the Shepherd Book to Rick's Mal. And then when you kill Shepherd Book, you are going to, move Mal forward. And that's probably what they're going to do here. And
although if they kill Michonne, I will stop watching the show.
Right. No, yeah, this is true. But the ones that have to stay, the top 5 characters that need to always be present: Rick, Michonne, Daryl, Glenn, and Carl. Those are the big 5. And every episode ought to move them somewhere. This episode did not move Carl anywhere.
Why do you think Michonne is so central to the show? Is it just because she's just I don't know, other than the fact that she has a sword? I'm not sure why I like her so much, but I do. But maybe it's because she's been out there so long, and she as a character has been transformed by being a part of this group.
Right. I was going to say, I think it's because we've watched her change more than any of the other ones. When she first shows up, she's like almost fully embraced the dark side. Like she's gone to a point where her humanity has more or less been stripped from her. So her journey has been fulfilling to watch because as we've progressed, she's become simultaneously a voice of reason for Rick and sometimes even a comic relief character. Someone who can be sarcastic in just the right way so that it lightens the mood at the right time. Whereas
she was also a good surrogate older sibling for Carl when he was starting to start doing dumb stuff.
Exactly. So Michonne, I think, is important for that reason. Daryl is important because he too has changed a good bit, and we've got a little bit of understanding of him, especially from the episode where he was hallucinating, of how he views himself, and so therefore, he's interesting to watch. Rick, obviously, Carl is Rick's motivation. He always was and should still be. Rick and Judith are central to why Rick does the things that he does. And then the last one, Glenn, is just an interesting character, A, because he's been there so long, and B, because he's the most human of the bunch.
And I think they even had a moment now where even Daryl shows more restraint. Like, I think when the Rick found out that the dude was conspiring against him, you have both Morgan witnessing, this is a pretty different, he even says it, you're kind of a different Rick Grimes than the one I met, at the sheriff's headquarters. And he's witnessing Rick, pretty much being okay with killing anyone who is a threat now. Rick's whole thing at the beginning of the show was we don't kill the living. And now he's like, we'll kill the living if they're a threat. And you got that, and you even have Daryl going dude, not necessary. Don't have to kill him.
Exactly. So, and Daryl, too, they're setting up, a rift between him and Rick in that one of the things that I've always said is nobody really questions Rick. And so when you look at something like Lost, which has an ensemble, there's always the Sawyer who's there to throw a wrench in Jack's plans. And there's always the Locke who's in direct opposition to Jack. Did I say Rick a minute ago? I meant Jack. Anyway.
I'm confused.
Okay. So essentially in Lost, you've got Jack, you've got Locke. They're polar opposites. And you got Sawyer who could go either way, and he's just kind of doing whatever feels right to him at the moment. So you've got these characters that all represent different motivations, and for the longest time, The Walking Dead hasn't had that, and now we're starting to have these characters not disobey or whatever Rick, but just kind of present an opposite to Rick. And so, in so much as Jack and Locke were opposites, I feel like now Rick and Morgan are opposites. Does that make sense?
No, yeah. Whereas before, like the biggest problem, I think we talked a couple seasons back, a big problem was that everyone was Rick.
Yeah, exactly.
And so now it's good that there are actually people thinking that Rick's taking it too far, or they're questioning his leadership. Not in like completely dumb ways, but just in like kind of like you would if you were thinking about getting another job. Like,
yeah,
this is fine, but is there a better way to do this? Is there a better path for me? Mm-hmm. You know, a realistic kind of contemplation on their part.
Right. So, but aside from those five, and I would throw Maggie in there because she's important to Glenn, and I would throw Carol in there because she's become sort of like a sleeper agent who, has Rick's back, but at the same time, sort of is important to Daryl. So she's important to a couple different characters, and really kind of Carl too. So, so I would throw them in there. But those seven, I feel like need to be. I don't want to say that characters ever need to be safe, but those are your mains. You know what I mean? And if you want to write one of them off, that's fine. But those are the main guys, and so all these other characters that you're building up, like Abraham, they can die and have more significance than whoever this guy was that died in this episode, who was going to, plan the mutiny or whatever on Rick. These are red shirts who are dying. And so there are three levels of character, really. You've got your red shirts, you've got your halfway characters, like, let's say in Star Trek, you've got, your red shirts, you've got these characters who would be introduced in like 1 or 2 episodes, and then they would die or whatever, and their death brings more significance. And then you've got those main 7 who should not die except in hugely important stories. And so anyway, for me, they need to just commit to that hierarchy and allow those characters to die, the ones like Abraham and Eugene, so that we'll feel something and we will still feel tension, whether that's for a big bad or for the walkers. But one way or another, those kind of characters need to keep biting the dust.
Well, we'll keep everyone updated on how this show is going for us. I'm thinking nothing much will happen in the next episode. It'll be all character stuff. Well, I mean, of course, the fallout from all this, but they have to soon reinforce everyone's dynamics with each other so we know what the stakes are. So,
right.
All right. Well, we don't really have time to do anything in film in theaters now. There's not really much anyway. I mean, there's a couple. I think, what was it? Crimson Peak, which is whose movie is that? Guillermo del Toro's latest movie. It, So I don't know much about it. So Tom
Hiddleston's in it.
So, yeah, Jessica Chastain. So that's supposed to be pretty good. I'm hearing good buzz on Bridge of Spies, which I think is Steven Spielberg's.
It is. Yep.
Yeah, latest movie, and Tom Hanks. So that's a winning combination. So that might be a good thing to do. And then if you feel like watching something that I won't enjoy, you can go watch Goosebumps with my best friend Jack Black.
Or you could not.
Yeah. So yeah. All right. Well, the next episode will be our superhero list. So make sure you stay tuned for that. In the meantime, if you want to see me not live tweeting a couple days after The Walking Dead, The Muppets, or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Come onto the air, then you can follow us at HooperCast and get a little preview to follow. If you don't want to wait till after the season's done to hear thoughts from me about these shows, you can you can do all that. You can do the whole Twitter thing because I'm trying to use the account more than I have recently, which has been not at all. So, anyway, Google us and just keep on listening. We appreciate it. All right. Well, goodbye, Dustin.
Bye.
All right. See you, everybody.
Bye-bye.